Yeah, I'm back, and don't worry, I'll explain all of this stuff later in the video, but for now, I'm just gonna get the very obvious out of the way. Yes, I did go to G-Fest, and yes, it was a lot of fun, but I will admit, I'm not entirely sure how much of that is informed by the fact that it was my first, because, you know, having this be the very first one of these that I ever attended, I had no real expectations. I didn't really go in knowing what a G-Fest should look like or should feel like. So I just kind of went in hoping that I would have fun, you know, see some cool stuff, and come away with a few memories. And, you know, I think I got that reasonably, but if this is, like, better or worse than your average G-Fest, I have no idea. I will say, getting there was kind of a shit show in and of itself, because the original plan was to get on a flight that left at like 6 in the morning, and it was going to leave at that time, like on the first day, on Friday, I think. And we were supposed to land, and it's like a quick flight, so it wasn't supposed to take too long, but we were supposed to land, and then we were just going to be able to be there probably weren't going to miss like any of the first day, actually, considering, you know, like the time zone difference. It's like a 3-hour flight from where I live to Chicago, which is where G-Fest happens. And, you know, I live in like the Eastern time zone, so, and Chicago's in the Central time zone. So in practice, it was going to be more like 2 hours. So if the flight left at 6, it was going to land at like 8. And G-Fest doesn't really real for real start until like 10. So I was gonna have, I was probably gonna be there for the entire first day, now that I think about it. What ended up happening though is that our flight got delayed. And when I say it got delayed, I mean it got delayed by 14 hours. It was supposed to leave at 6 in the morning, and it ended up not leaving until 8 o'clock at night. So what ended up happening is that instead of landing at, you know, roughly 8 a.m. local time and having enough time to go to our hotel room and, you know, unpack a little bit and then go downstairs for the start of the first day, we actually ended up missing the entire first day, landing at about 10 o'clock at night local time, and by the time we got to our hotel room, we were just so exhausted and so tired and just didn't want to do anything that it probably wouldn't have even mattered if we had landed on the first day, if we had landed in time to still have some of the events from the first day left over. We probably wouldn't have gone either way. Luckily, though, that was slightly made up for by the fact that we got like a fucking mega super suite for our hotel room, which was pretty nice. I actually have some footage shot that I'm gonna play on screen right now as I talk over it. So yeah, you can really see we didn't really skimp out on the accommodations. It was quite a nice living area. It looked like a conference room. So yeah, it was pretty sick, pretty tight, pretty sick nasty, but that's not really the main focus of the video, or at least it shouldn't be. Alright, so here's how I'm gonna do this. Here's how I'm gonna split this video. I did prepare a short little montage of all the stuff that I did there, most of which was shot on the second day, because that's when I kind of did the most. That's when I did the most walking around anyway. Third day was more about like the events and panels that I went to. And I'm going to cover all of that in the next segment. So I'm going to show what I did first, then it's going to cut back to me here in the present, telling you about all the stuff that I couldn't be bothered to record, or that I did record but had more to say about, other than just what I recorded for it. So I'm going to talk about all that, but first, before we get to any of that, oh, and then after that, I'm going to show you all of my, all of like the stuff that I got, so like the merch and all that. But before we can do any of that, let me just show you G-Fest through my eyes. So I'm finally here at G-Fest, actually started for real, finally, and I'm just bumming around the dealer room, which is basically where they sell like the collectibles and stuff.
You know, they got lots of figures and posters and stuff like that. That pretty much tells you everything you need to know. So I'm gonna shut up for a minute and just let the B-roll speak for itself. $22 for a shirt. I don't even know how unreasonable that is under normal circumstances. Still getting one though. Giant claw shirt. The guy that sold me the shirt has the same first name that I do, so that was a nice little bonding moment for us. Just two dudes being bros over the fact that we have the same first name. Successfully procured my first figure of the day. Can't see it because it's inside the bag right now, but inside here is a little, you can actually kind of see some bits of green through the bag. That is a little Violante figure. Monsterverse, Shin, show up, T-Rex. I don't think one of these belongs here. That's pretty badass. That one, not so much. Alright, I think I'm moving on out of the dealer's hall or whatever it was called. I wanted to say dealer's hall, but I don't think that's right. Got a pretty decent haul, I would say. But one thing that I noticed is that while I was getting my last shirt, because I think I got two there, the rack that they were selling them on, it had a lot of Godzilla shirts too, obviously, but there are also a ton of just like random unrelated shirts. Like they had Godzilla shirts too, but there were also Marvel shirts and DC shirts and like Star Wars shirts and Princess Bride shirts. I mean, it's like, come on, this is G-Fest. This is Godzilla Fest, not just random multi-purpose nerd fest. That's Comic-Con. That was fun. Alright, now let's get into what I can't show you. Or what I can, but that I have more to say about now, in comparison to what I filmed for it. So, a lot of the stuff that I either didn't film or want to elaborate further on with what I did film were like panels and stuff that I went to. Honestly, most of this G-Fest for me was just walking around, whether it be in the dealer's room, art room, like display room, anything like that, game room, and just going to panels. I didn't really go to like the film screenings or anything like that.
I don't really know why. It just didn't compel me at the time. It kind of wasn't on my super high on my list of priorities. So most of this was just going to different panels and of course walking around the dealer's room. But I already showed you the latter, so let's talk a little bit more about the former. So the first panel that I went to on the second day, basically it was all these guys who had written kaiju related fiction or non-fiction in the past, one of which was actually in line. He was like 2 people behind me while I was standing in line at the beginning of the day waiting for the dealer's room to open up. So I overheard him talking a lot, and I was kind of tempted to just sort of like insert myself in there. I decided against it because I don't know, I just thought that'd be a little weird. But anyway, the one that I did go to was fun. It was interesting talking about just like hearing people. It's always interesting to me hearing other writers because I write in my free time, if you were unaware. But it's interesting hearing other writers, especially people with like actual published works, talking about like the creative process and whatnot. It's really interesting, and it gives me some motivation to know that there are people out there who kind of struggle with some of the things and same things that I struggle with, so that was nice to know. After that, I did like nothing for several hours. I just walked a little bit more around the dealer's room because one trip just wasn't enough. And then that was also around the time that I went downstairs for the like the art room, took a lot of cool pictures, saw a lot of cool things. The display rooms were really cool. I liked seeing like the dioramas and the models and all the different displays that people made. And then after that, I went to the second panel on the first day. Well, again, the second day for almost everyone else, but my first day. And it was an art show or a drawing show with Matt Frank, who, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you're familiar with who he is by now, and another person whose name yet again escapes me at the moment, but I'll put them on screen right now. And if you know who they are, you know who they are, and if you don't, it doesn't really matter, because I don't think I had heard of them before the show, but it was still a great time. What happens with this one is that they like get suggestions from the crowd about like different body parts. So let's say like head, arms, legs, body, whatever, tail. And then they'll just call on different people and they'll just name a different monster from, it could be Godzilla, it could be Gamera, it could be Ultraman, it could be anything. They'll like draw those, and then you end up with sort of this weird chimera abomination that's just a combination of different kaiju's body parts that's supposed to make an original creation. It's fun, it's goofy, it's just meant to be, you know, some fun, silly thing that people do and they don't really take it too seriously. And Matt Frank is perfect for that because he's an awesome dude in person. He's so funny. He's so like clearly enjoying himself. He's just a really high energy, really enjoyable person to listen to. Seems like a class act to me. And it was just kind of both of them. They're so skilled as artists that this always amazes me when I see like professional artists doing what they do, is that they're so skilled at it that when you see them actually working, they just make it look so insanely easy. There's no like special, I mean there are special techniques, but when you see it in practice, they're literally just drawing a bunch of lines and it, you know, comes together to make a picture, same way everybody else does it. It's just that their picture happens to be a bit more aesthetically pleasing. So I guess maybe anyone can draw. Anyway, after that show, the next one was all about Godzilla VHS collecting and like redistributing, repurposing, all that stuff. I already made an entire video that's kind of related to that a little bit ago, which I'll link in the description and also put up in a card in whichever corner. For me, it was more like, it wasn't as fun or like enjoyable or entertaining as the drawing stuff, but it was still pretty interesting. I think I learned some things. I mean, I did already know a lot of that stuff that they were mentioning, to be fair. I overall just had it was a decent closing to the day. And it was my closing to that second day, because by the time I got back to my hotel room, oh my god, I was so tired. I just immediately passed out on the couch. It was like a futon. It was like a pull-out couch that you could make into a bed. I didn't even bother doing that. I was too tired. I just fell asleep on it in couch form. So day 3 rolls around. The first one that I went to on the third day was it was one that was all about Godzilla and Kong theme park attractions. and that was very informative. It was decently like fun as well. I mean, I just like kind of learning about that stuff. Honestly, anytime I hear about stuff like that, it just kind of there's a hint of bitter sweetness in the air whenever, especially like the King Kong encounter, confrontation, both of those two things. I so wish I could have gone on those. I so wish I could have gone on those two rides, especially the King Kong encounter. At least with confrontation, I have the excuse of that ride being closed down before I was even born. I was still alive when the King Kong encounter burned to the ground. And that's another thing about it, is that it wasn't just closed like confrontation was. It burned to the ground. It just kind of pisses me off, is all I'm saying. I wish I could have done it, but whatever. Honestly, if it was still around, I mean, I doubt it would have been very impressive in this modern day. They probably would not have taken the time to like renovate the animatronic Kong. It would have just been all stiff and awkward. It's like, it would have been a shadow of its former self. So maybe it was for the best that it was destroyed when it was, but I don't know, I still think it would have been kind of cool. And then after that, the panel immediately after that, which I stuck around for and even stayed in the same spot for, was the Godzilla 1998 Bad or Just Misunderstood panel. I wasn't actually originally planning to go to this one. I was originally just going to leave and then, I guess, just find ways to kill time for like the next 4 or 5 hours, well, closer to 3 hours, however long it was until the next panel that I was going to go to after that. But I decided, oh, whatever, you know, you always regret the things that you don't do more than the things that you did, so why don't I just stick around for this one? And I'm glad that I did, because it was actually a lot of fun. I mean, the whole, like, Godzilla 1998 discussion and the discourse surrounding it is one that's been raging for, well, not quite since the movie came out, but certainly since maybe, like, around Rulers of Earth era, people going back and reevaluating the film and asking if it really was as bad as they remember. It's been happening for like a while, and I get that, and I get that it's kind of played out, but I don't know, something about just having something about being able to like have that discussion or see said discussion play out in real time with a bunch of real people was very interesting to me, and it kind of breathed new life into the discussion. And you know, it was cool that the panelists like deliberately were not an echo chamber, because the whole point is that it was split. There were 4 people in total up there, and it was split into like 2 people who found the movie okay, 1 person who was like an ardent defender of it, and then 1 person who just outright disliked it. I thought it was just all going to be people who liked 1998 and who just wanted to be there to have their opinions validated. But no, there was actually a pretty healthy balance of people who didn't really care for the film, like me. People who just kind of thought it was, meh, like I probably did 4 or 5 years ago. And people who legitimately like the film and would, you know, passionately defend it, like I probably would have 10 years ago. But yeah, then after that, I had a couple hours to just do whatever. Honestly, I just went back to my hotel room and just hung around there until the next panel, which was all about King Ghidorah, and the many different incarnations. It was kind of a complete shit post of a panel, honestly. I thought it was going to be all serious-minded and like actually talking about the creation process behind this iconic character, but what it ended up being is just like they listed off all the main incarnations of King Ghidorah that we're all familiar with, and then they just got into like all the weird ones, and they just kept on listing them. It was a joke, you know, it was a complete joke. It was pretty funny, not gonna lie. And then after that, oh boy, did I end the weekend with a bang. After that, I went to Kaiju Confessions. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's hosted in Ballroom A-B, and it's wherein a bunch of people who have another hour to spare sit down, or actually we're standing for a lot of the time as well, and we sing kaiju songs. We sing kaiju-related songs together. I'm not making this up. If you've been, you're probably familiar, since I think it happens every year, or almost every year. But if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I am not making any of that up. And yes, I did participate. And yes, I do have a lovely singing voice, according to myself. And that's all you need to know. What did we sing? We sang the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla song. We sung last song for the movie The Last Dinosaur. Have you ever heard of that one? It's a dinosaur movie, but it has effects done by Subaraya Productions, who did like the Ultraman series. And then of course there was Save the Earth from Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Come on, of course they had to include that in there. And then the Blue Oyster Cult, Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult. And then we sang Goodbye Godzilla from The Return of Godzilla. What a perfect conclusion. Yeah, I think that really covers it. Oh, one more thing about Kaiju Confessions. Oh my god. I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this. While in between like the different songs for the Kaiju, for the karaoke or whatever, they would play certain clips from different Kaiju films. Like they play stuff from, you know, Frankenstein versus Baragon and War of the Gargantuas. And this guy who was sat next to me for the entire thing, almost the entire thing, he got up, and you have to bear with me on this one. This happened. I'm not just fucking with you. I have footage. I filmed it. Here it is. This guy gets up, and he starts like acting out the scenes. You have like a monster fight playing on like the projector in the background, and he's like trying to like mime along to them, but he's the only one up there, so he has to act as both monsters. It was honestly bizarre, and I felt like I felt very isolated in my kind of like, reaction to that, because nobody else was reacting to it at all. Is this a frequent thing? Does he do this at every G-Fest? I have no idea. Or is it not so much that he specifically does this every G-Fest, or is it just so much that the people who go to these every year are just so used to people doing similar things that they're just like, whatever. Doesn't get to me anymore. But now, to round things out, it's time to unwind. It's time to chill, and it's time to do that by showing off all the merch that I got. So starting with the figures, I got the little Biolante. I got her in the dealer's room. She was a little difficult to transport because she can't really like compress her any which way. She's quite tall and wide as far as figures go. And then I also have this little Mothra. I believe it is a Mothra from 2003. And you know, she's cool. She doesn't have a lot of articulation, but these, you know, little Bandai figures don't tend to. And then I also got this thing. Doesn't look like much now, but let me see if I can focus in on that. There's a little figure inside there, a little detached, I think it's Anguirus. Should I just put this together on camera? Yeah, why not? I was right. It's a little detached Anguirus that I guess I'm supposed to put together, and then I'll have a little Anguirus toy. Oh, that's funny. His head is in a separate bag as the rest of his body. I don't really know why they did that, but I guess it's to protect it. I guess his head is the part of him that needs protection. I mean, if you've seen some of the movies, if you've seen what happens to his general facialar region in some of the movies, that might be necessary. Okay, this isn't too detached. A lot of the parts are already in place. It's just his head and his tail that you have to snap on, and they're not. You don't really have to snap on. You just sort of plug them in. They're just on little pegs, and bam! Now I have a cute little Anguirus toy. Isn't that just adorable? Next up, moving on from the figures, I have this cool little thing. This is like a sketch. Little sketch card that they were selling of Godzilla. Well, they were selling it with multiple different Godzilla designs. I just got one for the 2001 GMK look because I think that look, it's one of the best in regards to how well it translates into like 2D sort of drawn pictures. I think there are a lot of Godzilla designs that I just think look sweet when it's like the full three-dimensional, actually a guy in a suit. But then when you try to translate them over to like 2D drawing, it just looks kind of odd. And then this one is kind of the opposite. I don't dislike how it looks in the film, but seeing other artists kind of come forward and like put their spin on it and actually draw it like this. I really like the look of it, so pretty happy that I got that one. All right, next up is a little VHS tape that I got of Space Monster Wanmagwi, which is an old, I think, what is this? I think it's a Korean kaiju film from the 1960s, but the VHS itself is not from that time period, but it isn't even from like the 80s and 90s. This is 2020, this came out last year. Not the film itself, but the VHS tape came out last year. And then it also came with this little poster. Well, no, it's not a little poster. Well, yeah, it kind of is, but it's sizable enough. Oh, that's upside down. Yeah, decent size. Don't really know where I'm gonna put this, but I'll figure something out. And then getting into the clothing and stuff. First, I have my hat. Pretty simple, just the simple Gojira characters displayed on the front here. And then I also got some shirts, one that I previously showed off to you. I mean, aside from, first of all, this one, the actual G-Fest shirt, probably should have went over that first. But then aside from that, I also have these Giant Claw shirt, which I already showed off in the montage. Pretty sick. And then also I have the Godzilla, oh, what's this? Oh yeah, the World Destruction Tour shirt. And then on the back here, it's of all the various different cities that he's destroyed. Pretty nice. And then possibly the favorite thing that I got was this. This is a blanket. This is a blanket that has a display on it that looks like the poster for Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. I can't fit it in the frame. I'd have to like scooch all the way back or like stand up to get it all the way, but you get the idea. You know what the poster looks like. It's that. Pretty nifty. And then last but not least, this is a Bob Eggleton piece that's actually signed by him. So yeah, that was G-Fest. I really don't have that much more to say beyond that. There are probably a couple things that I missed out on, a few details or fun little things that I forgot to mention, but I think I went over most of the broad strokes of what it was like and how it was and how much I enjoy myself, because I did really enjoy myself. If I ever get the chance to go again, I absolutely will. I think that would be a very much worth my time. Oh, I actually do have one more thing before I go though. And that is the fact that if you watched the video that I made a little bit ago where I announced that I was going to G-Fest, I mentioned that I was also going to try to do a Q&A sometime either late this month or early next month. That's still open, so if you have any questions for me that you want to ask, you can just go to the comments on that video and post them down below. Because not that many people are commenting, I would recommend leaving multiple questions. Like, you know, you don't have to keep it to one. You can throw in like 2 or 3 more if you'd like, just because that gives me a lot more material to work with. And, you know, if you have like pretty much a guaranteed shot of having your question answered. That about does it for this video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. And until next G-Fest, well, or at least until next video. See ya. Also, if you were at all curious about why I was wearing these in the montage but wasn't throughout most of this video, I'm nearsighted, so I only really have to wear these in like big open areas where everything is a lot farther away. When I'm just in my room though, and everything's relatively close together, I don't really have much reason to wear these, so it's pretty much just for aesthetics at that point. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out just to say that these do serve a purpose. I'm not just wearing them in the montage for kicks, but you know, just because they're more useful to have on some of the time than not, doesn't mean I have to keep them on all the time. So yeah, get schooled. All right, see ya.